Division Agent Personal Log. Agent Samuel Gator Crook. Location rural Arkansas to county airfield. Time frame days after SHD activation. Status recollection log. After that watch activated, I didn't do much for a couple days except sit and think. Farm was quiet, like it always had been. Wind rolling through the fields, chickens scratching around the yard, the same old sounds I'd been listening to my whole life. Only difference was that little orange ring on my wrist, blinking at me every so often like it knew something I didn't. Truth is, I wasn't eager to jump back into another war. I'd already done my time. 2 deployments, places that never officially happened. Lost friends whose names won't ever be written on any memorial wall. When I came home, I figured that chapter of my life was closed. But the world had other ideas. And somewhere up in New York, my Aunt Maggie might still be alive. That thought kept coming back every night. So after a few days of wrestling with it, I finally made up my mind. I pulled my go bag out of the closet. Old habit from my service days. A man learns real quick that if trouble comes knocking, you don't want to be packing at the last second. Inside, I started loading the essentials. Medical kit, field bandages, a couple packs of meals ready to eat, extra clothes, matches, canteen, mess kit, couple survival tools I'd carried through deployments before. Everything a man might need if the world outside had truly gone to hell. Then I walked over to the safe in the hallway, opened it slow. Inside was my father's 1911 pistol. He carried that sidearm back during the Korean War. Said it saved his life more than once. The metal still had the same worn grip from decades of use. I picked it up and checked the slide out of pure instinct. Still smooth, still reliable. I holstered it on my belt. Looked down at it for a second. Looks like I'm doing this, I muttered to myself. My old uniform still folded up in a trunk from years back. Surprisingly enough, they still fit. Guess farm work keeps a man in decent shape. Once I had everything packed, I slung the go bag over my shoulder and stepped outside. Truck started on the first turn of the key. Sun was barely coming up over the tree line when I pulled onto the dirt road. Drive to the county airport took about 40 minutes. Long stretch of empty highway most of the way. Radio barely worked anymore. Static on most stations. Couple emergency broadcasts, still repeating the same warnings about quarantine zones and federal authority. Funny thing is, the roads were empty. No traffic. No truckers. No commuters. Just miles of asphalt and silence. Made me wonder how bad things really were in the cities. I kept thinking about New York, about Aunt Maggie, about the call she made that night, about the way her voice sounded scared. If she was still out there somewhere, I owed it to her to try. Besides, if the government was activating something like this division program, then whatever was happening in the country had to be worse than anything the news was saying. And I've seen enough classified briefings in my life to know one thing. When the government starts calling in sleeper assets, things are already past the point of normal. The county airport finally came into view just past the tree line. Small place, mostly used by crop dusters and the occasional private pilot. But sitting on the tarmac was something you don't usually see in rural Arkansas. An old C-123 military transport plane. Big gray bird looked like it had seen a few wars already. Engines humming low, while a handful of soldiers loaded gear crates up the ramp. Soon as I stepped out of the truck, a woman started walking toward me. She was dressed in civilian clothes. Cargo pants, field jacket, backpack slung over one shoulder. But when she extended her hand, I noticed something important. She was wearing a watch just like mine. Orange ring glowing faint in the afternoon light. "Good afternoon, Agent," she said. Her handshake was firm, military firm. The kind you only get from someone who's been through training. Before I could say anything, she reached into her bag and pulled out a medical mask, handed it to me. "Here," she said. "You're gonna need this where we're going." I took the mask and looked past her toward the aircraft. Soldiers finishing their loading, engines idling, ramp open and ready. She motioned toward the plane. "Go ahead and board, Agent Crook. Welcome to the division. End log."